I am Jeanette from Jeanette Knits, and welcome to my live Q&A about the next release, pattern release, which will be Amor de Verano t-shirt, and that's coming next week. I'm sorry I'm late. And I have been very disappointed in the functioning of my printer. I had hoped to actually at least have the pattern with me to show the t-shirt that I'm talking about, because that is not the one I'm wearing. The one I am wearing is a completely different story, but related. But the one that I'm talking about is already in Spain, so I can't show you it in person, so to speak, and I can't show you it as a photo because my printer just decided to stop working last minute. I tried to fix it, but it didn't work, so I have no printer. I have no notes. Amazing. I'll just wing it, and hopefully it's useful anyway. So the pattern that is coming out next Friday is a t-shirt with a polo collar and buttons, and it is a collaboration with Feliz y Punto yarns from Spain. Justina is a yarn dyer who lives in Spain, and she gifted me 3 wonderful, incredibly luxurious summery skeins of silk and linen, and it was such a pleasure to work with them and create this t-shirt that is the perfect summer t-shirt. You wouldn't believe that you're wearing knitwear. It was amazing. I only had the pleasure to wear it a couple of times before it was on its way, but yeah, it's it's amazing. So let me just go through quickly what we are about to cover in this live, and please feel free to stop me and ask questions if you have questions. That's why this is a Q&A. So this t-shirt is a worked seamlessly from the top down. Oh, sorry. I meant to tell you what we're talking about. The inspiration, gauge and needle size, yarn and possible alternatives, the schematics and sizing, and finally construction and techniques and some possible modifications. So the inspiration was actually a traveler's blog post. I was reading about this woman's adventures, and she's a light packer, so she had packed this one lacy polo tee and snapped a few pictures of herself in various outfits, and I thought that's a really versatile and lovely garment, and it would be really easy to make one myself. So that was where I got the idea for the look. But and then the lace pattern, I think I had found it ages ago somewhere in the depths of internet, and always wanted to use it for something special. So yeah, that was the two things finally fused into one and created this t-shirt. And yeah, the gauge is, let me tell you, it is fingering weight yarn, so pretty small gauge. But nothing extraordinary. So 26 stitches in 10 centimeters or 4 inches of plain stockinette, and I've only listed the stockinette gauge to keep things simple, because the lace pattern doesn't really change the gauge too much if blocked properly. So it's shouldn't worry about the lace pattern gauge. And there's plenty of stockinette sections to warrant this simplified approach. So I used 2.75 millimeter, that is US 2 size needles for the main fabric, and 2.25 millimeter US size 1 for the collar, the button bands, and the ribbing hem and the arm edging. But yeah, that's just the starting point as usual. Whatever needles are needed to get the gauge should be the ones used. And the yarn, of course, matters. It should be yarn that is good for lace knitting to show the lace pattern. It probably should be in a solid color to not be too busy and conflict with the lace pattern. And it would benefit from being a light color so that the pattern really stands out, but it depends on what you would be going for. A dark color works nicely as well. There were some test knitters who had chosen darker colors, and it's wonderful to look at those as well. So yeah, pretty much anything goes. I think fingering weight is what it's designed for. As usual, maybe light fingering or sport weight could work, but then it would be a matter of figuring out whether you like the gauge of those, if it's not too drapey or too stiff, because the fabric for this should be flowy and summery. Well, that was my intention with this design. But I think fingering weight, even merino mixes would work, but of course it's a t-shirt. You'd probably not wear anything underneath, so it could benefit from being nice to skin something with silk, something with linen. Anything like that is my recommendation. Next, I can talk a little bit about sizing. So it is designed to be worn with a little bit of ease. So from 2.5 centimeters, that's 1 inch, to all the way up to 17.5 centimeters, which is 7 inches of ease. So there's a range, and it caters for chest circumferences from 70 centimeters or 28 inches all the way up to 150 centimeters or 60 inches. So hopefully that is suitable. You can find something suitable for your chest circumference in that range as well. It comes in 8 sizes, and it moves in increments of 10 centimeters around the chest. And yeah, I guess the one I created for myself had quite little ease, but I have seen some test knitters with a bit more ease and even less ease, and yeah, it's equally beautiful, again, depending on what your preferences are. Now I would like to talk about the most interesting aspects of this t-shirt and the pattern, and that is the construction and techniques that were used. So the construction is a completely seamless and top down, starting with the back, and we are casting on stitches for the full width of back, but then shaping the back neckline and the slope of the shoulders with short rows. And all of that shaping is done in stockinette, so you don't have to worry about incorporating lace and short rows. And then as soon as the shaping is done and we're hitting the straight section, then we get to work the lace in flat and just straight to underarm. For some sizes there are some increases to shape the armholes as well, and again that's all done in a stockinette as opposed to lace, so it's all simple increases. Once we reach the full width of the back, we put stitches on hold and we pick up stitches for the shoulders, and each shoulder is worked separately, and similar to the back again, with shorter shaping the slope and the neckline in stockinette stitch. And when we get to the full width of the shoulder, we work the lace straight down to where we need to either increase the armhole or join the front shoulders. And while we're doing that, we're also creating a little opening here for where the button band will be attached later. And so both shoulders worked down to underarm with increases that mimic the back, and then the whole piece is joined to work in the round with some underarm cast on stitches as well. And then it's just a straight up without any shaping, or straight down lace and stockinette exchange going on there to your desired length of the top. And then sleeve stitches are picked up around the armhole. There's an optional short row shaping section for sleeves as well, to avoid the bulge that would otherwise form under arms. And it would be especially noticeable for the sizes that had armhole increases here. So yeah, it's optional, really optional for sizes 1 to 4, I think. But then for sizes that for 5+, yeah, you'd have to be careful with that, with skipping that. But I think it would work okay as well if you want to keep the project simple. And again, all the shaping is done in stockinette, so there's nothing to worry about, and all the lace part is just a straight in the round until your desired length. And so because it's worked top down, you can easily make it cropped or a dress, or you can make it super short sleeve or even a long sleeve. Mind you, there is no decreases in the pattern for the sleeves, so if you do want to make a long sleeve tee, then you'd have to figure out how to decrease the sleeve or make it balloon, up to you. So that's that. Right, so let's say we've worked the body and the sleeves, and the most interesting part is then adding the button bands and the collar. I was not patient, and when I was working my version, I worked on the button band and the collar pretty much as soon as I had joined things in the round, even before dreaming about sleeves, because I like to see what the neck would look like. So yeah, the button bands are again a double knit button bands with a vertical buttonhole. I'm using the same techniques that I used for the Eternum sweater, and when the Eternum sweater was launched, we created a blog post to explain this technique, so that technique is still up in my blog post for anyone for general use. But in the pattern, I've specifically for this t-shirt, I've added a lot of instructional photos, and thank you for my testers who noted that was very helpful for them. So pretty much after any section, like the back section, I've added a photo to see this is what your work should look like at this point, and then we move on to the next one and next one. And the same for the button band. It illustrates where the stitches should be picked up and how they should be worked, and it's described fairly in a lot of detail. What else? Yeah, the collar is worked in twisted ribbing. One thing to note is that the twisted ribbing around the arms and the hem was the easy one. I say the easy one because you only need to twist the knit stitch and you can purl the purl stitch. as you would, because you can only see the front side of it. But because the collar is folded, and you want the fabric to look the same on both sides, that means that when you work the collar back and forth, you twist the purl knit as well as the purl stitch so that it can be folded anywhere and it would look same on both sides, which is why for me I think the collar bit took the longest to work mentally, because I didn't anticipate it taking it's fairly slow, but it's really worth it. It's such a professional look once it's done, because it's just so neat, and everything is bound off with tubular bind off, so that you get that very nice finish that you can't compete with the tubular bind off when you can apply it, right? I hope I'm not alone in that. So yeah, that's why the technique list for this t-shirt is short rows, lace knitting, increases and decreases, backward loop cast on, double knitting for the button bands and the tubular bind off. And I do have a list of videos that are there to help with the pattern. The playlist is included in the pattern as well. So I think it's an intermediate level pattern, but an ambitious beginner who is not afraid to try things and learn lots of new things could definitely conquer and have themselves a new t-shirt for the summer. I meant to talk about modifications, and I think that I might have already covered. Obviously, even the collar is optional. I had to rework the collar because I had decreased too many stitches, so the first version of the collar was too far back, like the tips of it weren't coming. It didn't look right, so I redid it. And when I had finished the whole t-shirt and then decided to redo the collar, and when I unraveled it and took it off, you know, it looked fine also without the collar, with just the button bands and a crew neck sort of finish. And yeah, that's that. So I, in the pattern, I said the collar is optional, but I'm yet to see a version where that's executed like that. Of course, it can be a very, very short sleeve, so the sleeve length is adjustable, the body length is adjustable. You can use 2 buttons, 3 buttons, or no buttons as well. So yeah, there's lots of customization options. There were some versions that were in multiple colors. So yeah, if that's your style, your jam, that is also a good way to go. But again, yeah, I would probably keep it simple, light, solid color, just letting the pattern, the stitch pattern speak for itself, because that's the one that's cool. Yeah, I think I have covered all the things that I wanted to say about this. Sorry if I missed questions, but I don't think there were any. I must be explaining everything crystal clearly, obviously. And yeah, I look forward to sharing it with everybody on Friday the 12th of May. We are in May. And thanks a million again to Justina for the yarn, which I really will not be the last time I use this, and for all the test knitters who completed the test knit a couple of days ago, and it's been a wonderful. Thank you. There's a comment saying you're always so thorough. I love it. Thank you so much. I hope this is helpful and can convince or remove some of the doubts about whether you would be able to complete a project like this, or if you're just in general thinking about what your next summer knitting project could be, then yeah, I highly recommend. Oh, and I wanted to mention that the reason I'm wearing my apero vest top is because this is the first project where I used Justina's hand-dyed summer yarn from Felice Punto, and this is a pure linen, I think. Yeah, pure linen, and I designed it 3 years ago, I believe. And yeah, it's just so summery today. Why not? Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and I'll speak to you soon.